Guys, after subscribing to this channel, please make sure that you also press the bell icon so that no notification, no new video of mine, any educational video, is missed by anybody.
I've just started the recording, and I would like to invite everyone who's there in the class in this OSCE for a discussion of September 2025 questions, which have recently come in the exam. And please start reading the question and writing down on a piece of paper so that you can just click the picture and share it on the group so that I can see how you've been answering. Okay, so everyone, please just do the questions, answer them in a piece of paper, and share the questions details with me so that I can judge. This is the first question. It's a long one, so I'm giving you some time to read it. Are you ready with the questions now? Just read this question. And here are the choices. You're getting about 3 minutes to solve it. If you want to see the previous question again, I can show it to you. Here it is. I mean, this is the history. 30-year-old woman, gravid 2 para 1, 38 weeks. Shortness of breath, fatigue in the past week, over 2 days. Orthopnea and no chest pain. Hypertension, diabetes, no history of any cardiovascular disease. But look at the vitals. She is having tachycardia, no murmur, bilateral basal edema, bilateral pedal edema, in chest X-ray pulmonary congestion, and ECG, echocardiogram ejection fractions is 50%. Dilated left ventricle, BNP elevated. It's all pointing to a very categorical diagnosis, which I'm asking you in the next slide. The ones who finished this answering, please just share your answers. Shall we now discuss? Everyone, the first question, usually I know you take time, so it's okay. We can discuss the first answer. It is definitely PPCM, as most of you know. The diagnosis is PPCM, okay? Peripartum cardiomyopathy. Diagnostic criteria, they have to be heart failure. Ejection fraction is usually less than 50% or less than or equal to 50%. No known pre-existing heart disease usually as a precursor. You don't have to have absence of any other cause of heart failure. So usually it's the exclusion, it's a diagnosis of exclusion. So usually there is any other reason for identifiable heart failure, and heart failure is usually around the peripartum period, that is in the last few months of pregnancy, last trimester, or mostly postpartum. These are the diagnostic criteria. Management, usually the management is oxygen, fluid restriction, salt restriction. Diuretics are very important management, and beta blockers. If she's hypertensive, then obviously antihypertensive will be a very important part, will play an important role. Oxygen usually, fluid restriction, actually diuretics and vasodilators mostly. These two are very important. Beta blockers are always important for any heart condition. So these were the few questions that I got from my students, and this is the answer that I've made. If you guys have a better OSCE with you with more questions, let me know. Okay, guys? Any doubts so far? Anyone? So a lot of new students tonight. I'd like to know if you've got any doubts. Anybody, please let me know so that we can discuss those doubts. And everyone, please, it's a request, don't just enter with any name. I'll have to remove you from the class. So person with name A, please change your name to your original name. That's a request. Okay. Now, the next question, everyone, have a look at this. It's an 18-year-old nulliparous girl is undergoing this surgery, laparoscopic ovarian cystectomy. Okay. These are the questions. Wow, great. Great, Isha. Very well done. Everyone in the class, Swati, Hema, Shafali, Sushil, please make sure that you're also answering side by side, and your speed is equally important, okay? Meghna, Juveria, everyone, please. Just make sure that everyone is answering in the class, trying to share the questions, answers with me so that we can all discuss it together. And you don't have to do an extra work. You can just check whether you wrote this thing or not. Thank you, Anita. Thank you. And again, these are my such students. I take pride in introducing them to you. So Anshika, Anita, they're all my, students who already had their practicals. Still they're in the class. Now, can you imagine that spirit? I don't have that spirit myself being a mentor. Just imagine. I mean, if I were to be in their places, I don't think I have. I'll be away from my studies, away from them. But these people, they have the strength to come again to attend your OSCE. Okay, so there's a huge, it tells a lot about them. It tells a lot about their academic orientation, about their spirit, and I'll be so happy to have them on board with me. All right. So, all right, let's begin. Let's start with the first one. Where is incision given on ovary for ovarian cystectomy? Usually at the anti-mesenteric border of the ovary. That's the place which is like, pretty less vascular as compared to the pedicle and the mesenteric border. And it's the right place to give the incision. Obviously, it will also be given at the point where it will be easy to access the entire cyst, right? It depends upon where the cyst is as well. maybe. That's a possibility. Write any two presentations in this case. So, it's pain in abdomen. It's a feeling of heaviness, abnormal uterine bleeding, could be anything. Okay. And yeah, mostly people have written the same thing which is written over here. Important tumor markers. I think by now this credit you should give to me. I'm the one who's made you ratify these 4 tumor markers, because they are actually the ones which are expected from you. And even for us, the clarity was given by the RCOG guidelines mostly. Because if you read the Indian author books, even Novaks for that matter, it never clarifies this concept. But these are 4 most important tumor markers. Okay. Write the ultrasound features of malignant ovarian tumor. Solid areas, capillary projections, thick septa. You can go on and on and on. Thank you so much, Anita, and so is you. I mean, I'm really appreciating this fact that you guys are still there. Anshika, Anita, these are my star students. Always there, always on point. Attended all my classes, and I'm 100% sure these people are going to pass with flying colors, and I would love to have them with me as a faculty, because very soon I'm going to take up another venture, and these people will be handling the DNB classes. All right. So this particular thing of writing down the ultrasound features for malignant ovarian tumor, there are actually many, but they've asked for 4, so I've mentioned 4, but there are actually B markers and M markers, benign markers, and M markers, which is malignant markers. There are actually many. Which classification used to categorize and assess the risk of malignancy in ovarian adnexal masses on ultrasound MRI? So you have ORAD's classification, you have IOTA classification. There are actually many such classifications which are based on only ultrasound and MRI features. So they happen. You can't write here the other markers, like Roma, ROCA. Those scores, they involve ultrasound features also, biochemical markers also. So we don't talk about them. Only exclusively ultrasound and MRI features, either ORAD's classification. I would also, like many of you have written down, IOTA classification also. Both of them are. All right. Yeah. I agree with all of you. All right. Now, any further questions? Are we there already? Yeah. There'll be another next question. Now, again, this is half a question. I'm sorry for this question, but this is what I was given by the students. So, unfortunately or fortunately, I had to bring it up. So, if there are any further doubts, I'm here to listen to you. Otherwise, we can go to the next question. All right. So, here's the next question. The time starts now. Actually, this is the only question that was there. So I don't know if this is not a part of, or there are not many questions in this, whatever it is. This was the one which was given to me, just the different layers sequentially. If there were other questions as well in this, let me know. I think this by far should be easiest for all of you. So I'm not giving a lot of time. Most of you have given the answers already, and here are the answers. So first of all, you start from skin, subcutaneous tissue, anterior rectus sheath, then the rectus abdominis muscle, transversalis fascia, periperitoneal fat, parietal peritoneum, and then the abdomen starts. Yes, everyone? There's a little bit of permutation combination which you people have written down, but this is the actual, content. Okay? This was an easier question, I would rather say. Unless, of course, there were other questions associated with like other abdominal incisions or advantages of other abdominal incisions one on top of the other, stuff like that. I don't know. If there were other questions, please, guys, let me know. Some of you are still there. Anshika, Anita, please let me know if there were other questions with this. Let me know this. Otherwise, it will go into the record, only this question. So I don't want my students to have less of information. In case you have, let me know. Oh, it was a single 5-mark question. Okay. Then I'm sure now. Now by her, she's a student who's been through this OSCE. She says only this much was asked. Thank you, Anshika.